Okay. The state of California has mandated new laws for building accessory dwelling units, and these laws override city zoning restrictions and PVHA regulations. How do you address these new laws?
I think that's a very important issue for us. The first thing is I think it's important for the city and the Homes Association to work together with a common purpose and come up with a consolidated view that works. The underlying restrictions have always been viewed as something that is a contract that we all have to follow when we buy a house here, and it's not something that can be overridden by local government or even state government. The only times the CCNRs in the past have been changed, if you look at that green book, there's some areas that are whited out. And those were some things that said that certain people with certain ethnicity weren't allowed to live in Palos Verdes estates, and that was constitutionally wrong, and that got eventually changed in the things. But I don't think the state has the opportunity, should have the opportunity to overturn those things. I do think we've got quite a case on that. I've been in many of the meetings in the city council where the ADU issue has been discussed, and it's obviously a tough issue, but it's something that is it's been said, like, for instance, oh, we don't want to be Huntington Beach, and Huntington Beach has got drawn the fire of Gavin Newsom and all this kind of stuff. Well, Huntington Beach just won an appeal, and they didn't have deed restrictions. It's not, a foregone conclusion that we can't help define our community and follow our own rules.
Thank you. Reed.
The state has decided to solve the housing problem by doing it and taking away deed restrictions and covenants, for instance, that we have with the PVHA that allow only for single-family homes. Can they do that? It's being challenged. And so I think we have to take a look at this very carefully, legally wise. And John had mentioned a couple situations that's occurred, like in Huntington Beach. And we have to try to protect our communities, because in some situations this would really affect even some areas more than others. We have some very narrow streets, as we all know. If we have accessory dwelling units that are allowed in some of those homes on those narrow streets, where are those people going to park? We've got a major problem with this. And it's not only us, it's other communities around the whole state. So I think there's going to be a pushback on this. We have to pay attention to who's pushing the hardest. Maybe we can join with them. We also have to know the legal minds that are being successful with this and tap into that. So it's something we shouldn't accept what the state's automatically trying to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Charles.
ADUs are very important issues for a community like PVE. And so the way I would address it is to work with the state in revising perhaps an exception on applying the ADU law within PVE. Now, have I done that before? Yes, I have. It brings to mind a number of years ago when the FCC, the federal government, wanted to sell off spectrum for 4G communications. I actually took a number of trips out to the FCC, worked with them closely, and we were able to get an exemption from selling a particular part of the spectrum for 4G. I intend to use my negotiating skills and my knowledge of the government to be able to do that as well for PVE. So not only in terms of the ADUs, but also in terms of 5G wireless. That's also another topic that needs to be addressed within PVE.
Thank you. Marlene.
I want Charles and John on the ADU committee. I think that we're in a good position to fight this thing, or at least water it down. I'm not sure that what the state has proposed is completely legal. We have issues in PVE that other communities do not have. We have safety issues. We have issues with fire and traffic. If we needed to evacuate PVE, it could not happen effectively. We have limitations on utilities, the water, the power, the sewer. Our sewers are ancient. If we were to triple our density, which could happen if we had a complete build out with ADUs, the most recent iteration from the state is that you can have your permanent residence, you can put an ADU within your residence, and you can also have a detached ADU. And they've also changed some of the restrictions for side yards and setbacks, and a whole host of other things. And so the whole complexion of our community would change drastically. I think it would be dangerous for our community to follow what the state has told us we absolutely have to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Gain.
So again, I've had some experience with this issue. My husband and I lived in Coronado, and you talk about fighting for every inch. That was triple dense, and it was really ugly. They had illegal rentals, legal rentals. You did feel like you were on a rat ship, and I'm just not going back there. And that's why I moved here, because I just can't live in that kind of double, triple density, because just like Rita said, it's the narrow roads with the parking. Marlena said the utilities, the sewer. I mean, it does destroy your neighborhood. So I'm with fighting this legally, and I really think we're back to violating deed restrictions, and I'm really for enforcing all the deed restrictions. So that's my take on this.
Thank you. Dick.
Well, like everyone else, I am very much opposed to what the state is trying to shove down our throats. I think Charles has actually a great idea that deserves some serious consideration of trying to get some kind of special exemption. I'm not sure it'll be successful, but it's something I think that does need some more serious thought. I also think that we're not the only community, though, that's going to be very negatively impacted by this, and we probably should be joined together in some kind of a united front rather than to be the one city with the TEG case or the one homes association with the test case, and then see how much money we can spend with lawyers. But this would could negatively, dramatically impact Palos Verdes estates.